Hello, Algebra 1. So we are going to go through some of your review packet together since I'm gone today. So it would be in your best interest to write down everything I write down on the smartboard in your packet. Some problems we'll do together completely, and some I'll just kind of give you some hints because it's been a while since we've done some of them. Also, remember, hopefully the sub told you, that you can write whatever you want on that yellow sheet of paper, front and back. So if you don't remember what a formula is or how to do a certain problem, I would literally write down that exact problem and how to do it with all your work, so that when you get to your test, which looks really similar to this pink packet, you'll know how to do it. So remember, you can use both sides of that yellow sheet of paper and write whatever you want on there, okay? So again, write down whatever I write down. It'll be in your best interest, and then we will go over this pink packet on Tuesday after our long weekend, okay? Okay, so these first two ones, you guys should be okay. Oops, there we go. Should be okay to solve those. It's just solving for a variable. We've done that hundreds of times this year. But let's do number 3 together. So we have a proportion. And how do we solve proportions? Well, we cross multiply. So I'm going to take 14 times 48 and set that equal to D times 12. So then from here we take 14 times 48 and get 672 is equal to 12D. How do we get D by itself? Well, we divide. Oops, not by D though, by 12. And when I take 672 divided by 12, I get, what do I get? 56. So A, that is our answer on this one. D equals 56. Perfect. Okay, let's see what's next here. Which is not a rational number. Remember, a rational number is just some goofy, funky number. So 63, that's a nice number. Square root of 25, we know that's 5, which is a nice number. 6.3, we could write that as a decimal. It'd really be what? 6 1/3. So that is also a nice number. But if we take the square root of 42, do we know what the square root of 42 is? No, we don't. It's some goofy decimal. It's like 6.4807 and then goes on and on and on. So that would be our not rational number. Okay, we're going to skip down to number 6. It says, tell whether the sequence is arithmetic. If it is, what is the common difference? Okay, so remember, if something is arithmetic and it's a sequence, it has to increase or decrease by the same number every time. So we just need to check. How do I jump from 15 to 19? Well, I add 4. How do I jump from 19 to 23? I add another 4. 23 to 27, I add another 4. So we would say, are they going up by the same number? Yep. By how many? 4. So I'm looking for yes, with a common difference of 4. So B. And at any point, guys, if I'm going too fast, pause the video so you can write everything down, okay? On number 7, I'm going to give you the slope formula so you can figure out what your slope is. So remember, slope is your y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that is your slope formula for number 7. So now remember, if you couldn't think of that slope formula on your own, this would be a good thing to write down on your yellow sheet of paper. Okay, what is the bottom? It says, what is the graph each function rule? So remember, all we have to do on these two is make a t-chart. So, I'll do it right here. Yeah, I'll do it right here. So remember, we typically do -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. I'll do this first one with you. So if I plug in 0, oh boy, who remembers what those bars mean? Remember, that's the absolute value, so that just means I take the positive version of whatever number I plug in. So if I take the absolute value of 0, it's just 0. What's 0 minus 1? It's just -1. Okay, now let's go on to 1. If I plug in 1, the absolute value of 1 is 1, minus 1 equals 0. If I plug in 2, the absolute value of 2 is 2, minus 1 equals 1. Okay, now let's try -1. So now if I take the absolute value of a -1, it's really a positive 1. Then 1 minus 1 equals 0. And then we'll do -2. The absolute value of -2 is really a positive 2 minus 1 equals 1. Now from here, I'm going to graph my ordered pairs. So 0, -1, 2, 1. And if we remember correctly, an absolute value function does end up in a V like this. So it's just going to be 2 straight lines going up in a V. So we did that one right. Good job. Okay, on number 9, I'm not going to do it with you, but you're going to make a T-chart again. And you're going to plug in the same values. And since it's a quadratic, it should end up in a U shape, a parabola. So if you don't get a U shape, you did something wrong, okay? Okay, I think that's all the notes I had for the first page. Let's flip it to the next page. It says, identify the mapping diagram that represents the relation and determine whether the relation is a function. Okay, so that's a really fancy way of saying, is it a function or is it not a function? So remember, our domain can't repeat. So remember, which one's our domain? Is that our x or our y's? That's our x values. So if I look at my ordered pairs, do I have any x values that repeat? I have a -8, a -5. Oh, but I have another -8, so I already know it's not a function. And now we just have to pick the right mapping one. So remember, your x's go first, and they go to your y. So let's first figure out not a function. So this one says it is a function, so I already know it's not A. I already know it's not B because it says it's a function. So now we just have to pick what diagram it is. So this on C is saying 6 goes to 8, but 6 is my y value, and I know that's not true. So I know it's not this one, so it has to be D. Let's check it out. 8 goes to 6, that's true. 5 goes to 2, that's true. -8 goes to 1, that's true. And 7 goes to 3. Good job. Got it. D. Let's see what's next. There is a typo on this one, so let's do 11 together quick. So we solve this like normal, so we're going to solve this inequality before we graph it. How am I going to get x by itself here? I'm going to divide by -4. And you should be thinking, if I divide or multiply by a negative number, what's going to happen to your sign? It changes to 3. Okay, so now I'm looking, my graph should start at a 3, so it could be maybe A, could be maybe B, definitely not C, and definitely not D. Now if I look at A and B, I should have a closed circle, because there's a line underneath, and it should point to the left. Closed circle and point to the left. Well, technically this circle right here should be closed, and it's pointing to the left. So it should be B. It's a typo, but it's definitely not A. All right, number 12 says write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line. Here's your slope-intercept form. I'm going to let you figure it out or plug it in. Remember, m is your slope. So count your rise over run. And b is your y-intercept. And that's where it touches the y-axis. There's a hint. Next page. You're going to be graphing some inequalities. I'll do the first one with you because it's been a while. So we're going to graph. So if I look at my inequality right here, what is my y-intercept? It's a positive 3, so I'm going to go up to 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh boy. These are bad graphs. And now count your slope. So down 5, right 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, we like these because we got a shade, right? Everyone like to shade? But before I can shade, we have to decide, is my line going to be solid or dashed? It should be dashed because I don't have a line underneath, so we should dash in our line. And now our next issue is, what side of my line do I color on? So remember, we always plugged in 0, 0 and decided if it was true or not. So 0 is less than, what's negative 5 times 0? 0 plus 3. So now is 0 greater than 3? Nope, it's not. So I have to shade where that is not. So I'm going to shade on the other side. Okay, 14 is the same. 15, you're doing 2 lines at once, and then your colors, remember, should overlap somewhere like this, and then that's your answer on number 15. 16, you're just graphing 2 lines, and they will either intersect at a point or be parallel, and they won't have an answer. Let's do 17 because it's been a long time since we've used elimination to solve a system of equations. So remember, with elimination, one of our variables are going to cancel out. So if I just look at what we're given here, if I add my equations together right away, am I going to see something cancels? I do, right? The y's will go away. So what's 2x plus 1x? Well, it's 3x. Negative 2y plus 2y? They go away, they cancel out, so those just say see ya. And then negative 8 plus a negative 1 is negative 9. And now we solve like normal. Get x by itself. So x equals negative 3. But remember, we have an x and a y here, so now we got to plug back in. I'm just going to plug into the top equation, so I'm going to have a 2 plug in for x, negative 3. Minus 2y equals negative 8. Simplify it out. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Minus 2y equals negative 8. Add my 6 over. We'll have negative 2y equals negative 2. Divide by negative 2. Y equals 1. Now remember, these are an ordered pair, so our answer should be negative 3, 1. Remember, you could always check by plugging back into the equations to see if it works out. Okay, you guys should be okay with scientific notation, so let's go to the next page. We'll see here, it says, these are all exponent rules. Look through your notes or Google the rules. You should be okay. If not, we'll go over these on Monday, but we're going to skip these because I think you should be all right on those. Let's jump down to 24. So don't get freaked out because there's words. It's just plugging into this formula they give you. It says, suppose a population of 160 crickets doubles in size every month. This function here gives the population after X months. How many crickets will there be after 2 years? So my hint is, how many months are in 2 years? Whatever you get for that, plug that in for X. But you need it to be in months. And yes, it's going to be a large number. Let's do 25 together. It says a boat costs $11,850 and decreases in value by 10% each year. How much will the boat be worth after 8 years? So when we did problems like that, we always thought, so what did I start with? How much was my boat? Well, my boat's original price was $11,850. Okay, and then we always had a 1, and now it says, is it increasing or decreasing? Well, they tell me it's decreasing, so I'm going to subtract. Well, what am I subtracting? 10% each year. What's 10% as a decimal? 0.1. And after how many years? To the 8th power. So then from here, we're going to have 11,850 times, what's 1 minus 0.1? 0.9 to the 8th power. Then I'm going to type that into my calculator, and you're going to get one of these 4 options. So you guys need to go back and figure out which option you get. You type this into your calculator, okay? 16, 26, remember to distribute your negative through so that you'll end up with, this guy stays the same, but then all your signs change because of that negative. But you go back and finish it. On 27, let's see here, you have to FOIL. You guys all know how to FOIL, but just draw on these lines so you remember when you come back to it. FOIL. 28, you're going to end up something like this. W times something plus or minus W times something else. Factoring, we did it a lot. So you're thinking what multiplies to 77 but adds to 18. So hopefully you have your factor chart. If not, just guess and check. We are going to do 29 together because that one's kind of tough. So we're thinking, what multiplies to a 6? I'm going to try a 2 and a 3. So a 2x and a 3x. And then what multiplies to a 12? We'll have a bunch of options, but I'm going to cheat a little bit because I know the answer. We're going to go with a 3 and a 4. But now we can check to make sure it works by FOILing it out. So 6x squared plus 8x plus 9x plus 12. So in the end, I'll end up with, is that what I wanted? Yep, they're the same, so it worked. 30, you're going to get something like this, R, and then R. Same kind of idea on 31, you're going to end up with factoring. We gotta think what number times itself gets you to 25, and what number times itself gets you to 49. (32) A ball is thrown in the air with an upward velocity of 28 feet per second. Its height h in feet after t seconds is given by this function. How long does it take for the ball to reach its maximum height? Okay, so you're thinking, is that vertex, or am I solving for the maximum of a parabola? That should be its vertex. So you need to plug in for negative b over 2a. This would be another good yellow sheet formula that you can write down. So find out what your vertex is, plug whatever you get back into this function right here to get how high it went up in the air, okay? Graph the function, identify the vertex and the axis of symmetry. I will start this one with you. So we first need to find the vertex, which is negative b over 2a. So if I look at my function, what's my b value? Well, it's a 4. Opposite of 4 is a negative 4 over 2 times my a, which is 1. So now this equals negative 4 over 2, which is really just a negative 2. So now remember, we make our t-chart from here. Put negative 2 in the middle, negative 1, 0, negative 3, negative 4. I'll help you find your vertex, and you guys can do the rest. So now from here, I'm going to plug in negative 2 into my equation. So negative 2 squared plus 4 times negative 2 plus 1. 4 minus 8 plus 1. That would give me what? Negative 3. So our vertex is negative 2, comma, negative 3. Our axis of symmetry, what do you guys think? Remember, it's x equals whatever your x coordinate is, so negative 2. Okay, you guys fill in the rest of the table and graph our parabola, negative 1, 2, 1, 2. That's where it should start. That's your parabola. 34. You're factoring again, so you're going to get z and a z. And then whenever you get your answer, just remember, set it equal to 0, then solve, and you'll get one of these 4 options. On 35, I'll help you out. If we look, everything's divisible by a 3, so then I'm left with z squared plus z minus 2 equals 0. And then from here, you're going to factor z and a z and set it equal to 0 again. Which kind of table best models the data? Use differences or ratios. Okay, so we just got to look. We notice our x's are all going up by 1, so that's awesome. That makes our life a lot easier. And now we just have to see what's happening to our y's. How do I jump from a negative 1 to a negative 0.5? I'm going up by what? 0.5? Negative 0.5 to 0, going up by 0.5. 0 to 0.5, going up by 0.5. 0.5 to 1, going up by 0.5. So since I increased by the same number every time, that means it's linear. It'd make a straight line if we drew it because it's going up at the same rate. We just finished up this chapter on mean, median, and mode, so you guys should be rock stars at this, so I'm going to let you just go to work on those on your own. The only thing I want to talk about on 40 is the histogram uniform, symmetric, or skewed. So uniform means it would all be even. Symmetric means it would kind of make like a bell shape. So it would be like even on both sides if you were to draw a line right down the middle of it. And skewed means it kind of sways to the left or right. Sways left or right. So if I look here, is it uniform? Are all my bars coming to the same point? Nope. Is it symmetric? Is it making like a nice curve shape like this? No. So we would say it's skewed because do we see how it's kind of going like this to the right? It's swaying to the right. So it's skewed. 41, make a box and whisker plot. You guys can handle that. Let's see what's next. You guys should be okay here again. Let's jump down to 46 because it's just been a little while since we've simplified radicals. 44, you're looking for what blue number on the board goes into 72. Remember on 45, you multiply the numbers on the outside together, and then the numbers on the inside together, then simplify. Let's do 46 together. So I'm going to break apart the top. So now I'm thinking, what goes into 80? Well, I know 16 does 5 times. And I know that the square root of 9 is 3. What's the square root of 16? It's 4. I don't know what the square root of 5 is, but how many W's can I take out of here? Well, I can take 1 out with 1 left over, all over 3. That should be a nice review. You guys are really good at that. (47), we'll do this one together because we never rationalized the denominator, but all that means is I can't technically have a radical in the bottom, so how do you get rid of it? Well, you multiply by it. So for this one, I'm going to take my top times each other, so it's 4 times root of 11, just 4 root 11. What's the square root of 11 times the square root of 11? Square root of 121. We know that the square root of 121 is just, not 21, 11. So it works out nice in the end. Then on the back page, let's see here. You're just adding on 48, so you got to break down 96, so simplify that so you can add together. On number 49, you're foiling, so take these guys times each other, those ones. And let's cross out 50, skip it. I know that was long. Use your time wisely and get as much of this packet done as you can. Try to finish it up over the weekend. We will go over the answers on Monday and have kind of a more fun review day, playing, I don't know, some kind of game of some sort. And don't forget that you can write whatever you want on that yellow sheet of paper on the front and the back. You can write down example problems, definitions, formulas. Whatever you see on this pink packet will be on your final, okay? So there's going to be no surprises because it looks just like this. Have a great weekend. I will see you on Tuesday.